So we kick off with Wednesday's Times, and despite the fact that I cannot believe anyone has put on a single radiator in the last 2 months, we have still more alarming news about fuel prices, Andrew.
We do. I mean, you'll recall that people were talking about, or predicting that the fuel cost would go up to somewhere in the region of $3,700 a year for most families, most households. And now they're saying that it's going to be roughly 700 more than that. So by the time we get to April, they're going to peak at 4,400. This is being described as a fresh shock.
So this
to
is
consumers.
April 2023.
That's right.
So the coldest 3 months of the year are the three that lead up to that then?
That's correct. Yeah. That's correct,
okay.
yes.
Right.
So this is all... Now, obviously, this just seems to be getting worse. Every time there's a new report regarding this, and it's because Ofgem are allowing the cap to increase at every stage. But they're also, of course, as you remember, I think back in May, they said that they would enable companies to make these changes every 3 months rather than every 6 months. The idea would be that when they made savings, those could be fed out to the consumers more rapidly. But I mean, the reality is it just seems to mean that the rising prices are going to be brought to people more quickly. That seems to be what's actually happening here.
Yeah.
And I just think people are going to be in trouble. I mean, this, you know,
that's a huge
it's
amount of money.
such a huge amount of money.
And that's for the average. I mean, it's obviously slightly, I don't know, deceptive. Is that the word? It's not necessarily that helpful because you don't know how big a house that is or how many people live in it.
No, but as soon as you're increasing bills by the order of thousands of pounds, I mean, that is the difference. I mean, so many families are already struggling.
Yeah,
they're basically saying the End Fuel Poverty Coalition is saying that a third of UK households will be in fuel poverty. That's according to how the government defines it.
The government's own definition.
Yeah.
So do we have any idea how that definition works? It's based on the fact that you can't afford to heat the house as much as you would like to, I suppose.
Choose one of the... And people having to choose food or heat.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not just households. I mean, this is businesses. It's the public sector. I mean, this is going to affect absolutely everything. And, you know, I think it does have to spark a conversation about the need for cheap and reliable energy, about the need for a new strategy. You know, we've got...
I mean, we've been having these conversations, but of course, until about 2 years ago, all the conversation was about how can we switch to green, wasn't it? Sustainable, how can we save the planet from overheating?
Right.
And of course, part of what we're confronting is, you know, a shift away from cheap but ultimately environmentally damaging fuel sources.
Right, so maybe there should be a conversation about fracking, which I suppose wasn't particularly popular with the environmentalists.
Well, it should, I think. Yeah.
And certainly about nuclear energy. I mean, we've got, I think it's 7 of 8 of the current nuclear reactors are set to be retired by 2030. So, you know, France sorted this decades ago and they invested in nuclear energy and now they're reaping the benefits. So we should, although that's not going to solve things in the short term, we have to have the conversation, right?
No, well, you see that quote this week, who is it from? Someone basically said, oh, no, if we build a nuclear...
Clegg.
Yeah, it was Clegg, was it?
Yeah, so... From 2015.
Yeah, so saying, well, what's the point? If we build a nuclear power station, it won't come online until 2021 or 2.
Yeah,
and you're like, that's the thing, But the problem is it's always this sort of short-term emergency running to... And we haven't had a visionary government, it seems like, for a long time who is willing to to think that 20, 30 years ahead of these things. And now we're reaping the benefits.
They're thinking of the next electoral cycle. That's about it, really.
That is the way our politics is always organised. And, of course, things like the war don't help, you know, but they also provide a scapegoat as well, I suspect, don't they? Allow them to sort of get off the hook when, in reality, they should have been organising something much more systemically robust.
Right. Well, we do. Yeah, I mean, we need to assume that there are going to be global conflicts and various things going on around the world that will, you know, damage our energy resources, and we need something in place.
Absolutely.